Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. So if you are new here, hi, my name is Ellie. I'm a teen mom to two children. I have a 4-year-old son called Dionte-King, who I fell pregnant with at 14 and gave birth at 14. And I have a daughter who has just turned 2. I fell pregnant with her at 16 and I gave birth to her at 17. Now, this story time I'm about to do was the first ever video I done on my YouTube channel, and it was so ghetto. It was, yeah. So I thought, let me redo this story time and talk to you guys properly, go into detail about me being pregnant at 14 and my story time, because I like to share my stories on being a young mom with you guys, just because if I can help one person out there, I'll be happy. I just want to say, if you are not following me on social media, then what the hell are you doing? Go down below in the description box and go and follow me on all my social medias so you can keep up to date with things we do daily. And if you ever want to chat, I want more friends. I want more mom friends. So yeah, if you're not already following me, make sure you go and follow me. Me and my baby dad actually met in secondary school. So I joined his school at the start of year 9, but prior to me starting this school, he actually used to DM me on Instagram and comment on my pictures, and because I didn't know who he was, I never used to reply or anything. And then when I was on my week of induction, I actually got a message from him saying, oh my gosh, is that you? Basically, you're starting my school. I never knew that he went to this school, so it was really, really weird. Anyway, we become quite good friends in school, and we'd sometimes meet up after school, and we'd actually just go chilling McDonald's. We'd always go get food from somewhere. It wouldn't always be McDonald's. It might be a chicken shop. KFC, we used to literally just always go get food, and we'd go walk around. We'd always be walking around because obviously none of us had cars. We didn't bring each other to each other's houses straight away. If you know me, you'll know I don't bring people to my house. Even now, I don't like bringing people to my house. So yeah, we used to meet up after school, and then I actually lost my virginity to him on Halloween. So we used to just, meet up, chill together, go for food, do whatever. We used to be little bad kids together. I actually remember when I lost my virginity, which might seem weird to some, but I'll always remember it because this is the time that I fell pregnant with Dionte. So we didn't use protection like we should have. We should have thought of it, but we didn't. It was in the moment. We didn't plan on doing the deed. So I didn't have it in my house at 14. I didn't think, oh yeah, I'm going to need some of that in my room or him. So we're not going to meet up and have it in our bags or anything like that. So yeah, it was Halloween and we met up, was vibing, was chilling, and it got to doing it, and I remember being actually really nervous because it was will it hurt? Is this normal? Because I thought I was this bad child. I'm thinking, oh, it will never happen to me. So that's literally what I was thinking in my head. It's never gonna happen to me. You know, all these people at a young age are doing it, and they've not fell pregnant, so I'm not gonna fall pregnant. And I didn't really think about I'm gonna fall pregnant first time. So yeah, we did the deed and everything was fine. And like I said, we just basically went about our business. We carried on with our relationship. We carried on with our school. We carried on doing everything. I had literally just turned 14. So my birthday is on the 14th of October. And then I did the deed on Halloween. So what's that, a week, 2 weeks? We've done that, carried on with what we was doing. And there was a girl that I used to be friends with. She was actually pregnant. She is the same age as me. So I went and messaged her. I'm like, I think I could be pregnant because I had so many symptoms. I was so tired all the time. But I've always been like that since a kid. Like even now, I like to have a nap a day. My iron is so low, but at the time I didn't know my iron was low or anything. So I had all these symptoms and I felt sick as well. I remember in the taxi on the way to school every morning, me just feeling so sick all the time, even at school. Now, my friend at the time said to me, we'll wait 3 to 4 weeks, and then what we're going to do is we're going to meet in town and we're going to go get you a test. Like I said, she was already pregnant and she was actually due in a few months. So she was like quite far gone. I think she was around like five months pregnant already. We lived in different areas, so we couldn't just pop to the shops and go get one. So we met up in town a few weeks later and my symptoms were just getting worse and I actually threw up. They made me feel sick and I remember throwing up at them, which I thought was really, really weird. So anyway, the few weeks passed, we met up in town. We actually got my pregnancy test from Poundland, I remember. And then we've gone and done them and she actually did one as well, just to make sure like they worked, because me being silly, like I was just like, yeah, let's just basically see if they work. So she did one, come up positive, and then I've done one and it come back positive. At this point I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like what the hell? But I'm now thinking I'm on top of the world. Like I'm thinking I can take on the world, it's fine, like I'll deal with it. A baby, like I can handle a baby, I can definitely be a mom. I never doubted myself. We then went to McDonald's and I remember her saying to me on the way there, like, how do you plan on telling your parents? And I'm thinking I'm living in some fantasy world and I'm saying, oh, I'll write it for them in like a Christmas present and give it to them, because I think this was like middle of November, end of November. I'm then thinking like, yeah, I can do that. Like I'm thinking I'm grown. I was 14. So that's basically how I was planning on telling them in the first place. But the first person, obviously, I needed to make aware was the father. So I sent him a picture of the test and I was basically before that saying how I need to talk to him and tell him something. When we had a chat, was basically both agreeing like we can raise this child. And it was kind of at the moment we were saying like, if I didn't want the baby, we wouldn't have kept the baby, and if he didn't want the child either, we wouldn't have kept Dionte, because it was like I didn't want to be a single mom raising a child without the child's father being involved at least. So yeah, we was happy together and everything was going smooth. So we kept obviously the baby, and I remember we used to go Asda. We used to walk to Asda, imagine that. And we used to go look at baby stuff, and I got loads of gender neutral stuff. Just before I told my parents, I had already brought like baby clothes and stuff like that. And this was before telling my parents. And I remember showing my parents all this baby stuff, and I think they kind of clocked from there, but obviously at the same time they probably was just thinking like I was deluded. And I'm not gonna lie, like at the time of me falling pregnant with Dante, me and my parents was not on the best of terms, everyone. Let me just say that. We didn't really get on. The relationship we had was quite rocky. So me telling them, I have never been that child where I'll go sit down with my mama, I'll go sit down with my dad and I'll just tell them everything. I like to keep things to myself. So they basically suspected I was pregnant, and I would always say things like, yeah, I'm going to have a baby, 2018, I'm going to have a baby. And I remember being in the car on the way to dinner once and I was arguing with them and I kept saying, yeah, well, I'm going to have my own child. Like in 2018, I'm going to have my own child. But I obviously knew I was pregnant, but they didn't know. So then after the food now, we've come home and I'm in my room. And I remember my mum coming in and my mum was basically like to me, you are pregnant, like, are you pregnant? And I was like, no, like, why would you say that? I'm not pregnant, getting all defensive about it. And then the argument got more and more heated. And I actually told my mum in an argument, which is something obviously I regret doing, but in the moment it happened and we can't change things in the moment. And to be fair, if I didn't tell her then, I probably would have longed it out even more. I would have probably ended up longing it out until I was showing, like, or unless the midwife or someone said to me, like, we have to inform your parents. So yeah, I basically shouted to my mom, and I am fucking pregnant, like that. And I remember my mom just crying. My mom was just crying because you don't expect and you don't want that for your child. Like, me being a teen mom and me having both my children really, really young, I still don't want my kids to be teen parents. Like, I do want my kids to do everything that they want to do in life without children before they have a child. But if they was to do it, obviously I'd support them. But we're going off the story now. So anyway, back to the story. So I remember, like, my dad speaking to my mom, and my dad didn't go mad, but my dad was obviously as well disappointed because, like I said, you don't want that for your child. Now, they was very disappointed, very upset. And my mom said to me, like, she's ringing me in for the doctors, and there's me thinking like she's trying to book me an abortion, but she wasn't. So we've gone to the doctors, and I literally remember going to the doctors like it was yesterday. So I've gone there and I told them I don't want my mum in the room, like, and because obviously it's confidentiality, my mum didn't have to be present even though I was underage. Now, my baby dad was 15 when I fell pregnant and 16 when I gave birth to Dionte. So I went in there and she made me, like, wee on the stick, and she was just talking to me about all my options, and I was adamant. I was like, no, I'm not getting rid of this child. Like, there's no way you're going to tell me get rid of this baby. And she gave me, I can't remember what they're called, everyone gets them in pregnancy, them vitamins. If you've had a baby, you'll know what I'm on about, the vitamins they give you. So she gave me some of them and she referred me to the midwife. And my baby dad's mom didn't know at this point. She had no clue. And we was both actually scared to tell her. So one time I was arguing with my baby dad. He must have tried doing some slickness. And I said to him, like, don't make me go and tell your mom that I'm pregnant. I've grown up a lot now, but I was wicked. About a week after my doctor's appointment, I actually had my first ever midwife appointment, and my midwives for my pregnancy were amazing. Like, they were literally the best, and I'll never forget her and my health visitor. They were literally the best people ever. They were really supportive. They specialised in teen pregnancy, I think under 20, I'm sure it was. So yeah, she was lovely and really helpful. I went for my first ever scan at 12 weeks, and before my 12-week scan, the day before, I remember doing loads of pregnancy tests because I was just like, I am a paranoid person in general, and I remember doing them because it was like, imagine if I turn up to this scan and I'm not actually pregnant, like, what the hell? So I was doing loads of tests, and I actually fell off of an electric scooter, and I have never ever been on one since, and that was over 4 years ago, well 5 years ago. I've never been on an electric scooter since, literally because of that. So I was so scared. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like, have I had the baby? I hadn't, everything was fine. So yeah, I went to my 12-week scan and he was growing perfectly. When I went for my bloods though, before that, I remember I nearly fainted because I can't do needles. I hate needles. To this day, I'm petrified of needles. And I just remember them injecting me and taking little bloods from me, and I was holding the midwife's hand, and then as soon as I got out of the hospital, I threw up. I remember throwing up outside where the ambulances park, and I near enough fainted, and my mum got me straight away. The 12-week scan appointment, everything was fine, and nothing is real in your pregnancy, I don't feel like. This is just a personal preference until you have that first scan. Like, when you have that first scan and you see your baby on that screen, there's no going back now. 100% I'm not going back, because before I could have changed my mind. Not that I was going to, but do you know, when I seen him on the screen, I was just like, that was it for me. That was it. Everything was fine. I had regular midwife appointments, very, very regular midwife appointments, because of how young I was. It then came to my 20-week scan, and I didn't do no gender reveal for Dionte, nothing like that. I didn't even think about it. But I remember placing a bet with my little brother. And I think I said it was going to be a boy. Like, I wanted a girl, but I knew it was going to be a boy. I don't know why I knew it was going to be a boy. I just had a gut feeling. And he said girl. So we placed, I think it was like £10 bet. And then I remember going into the scan room with my baby dad and them telling us we're having a boy. And I asked them, like, oh, can you see what gender the baby is? And my baby dad was so happy, like, he was over the moon. But I was happy because my baby was healthy and everything was perfect. But gender disappointment is real. Like, I'll be so honest, gender disappointment is very, very real. And I was a bit disappointed, I'm not gonna lie. So I've gone out of the room and we went to mother care, and I remember my mum showing me like little girl things, and I was just basically telling her to stop because I'm not having a girl, and you know I wanted a girl, so like, what are you doing? Anyway, it didn't last long. My gender disappointment didn't last long at all. Literally a few days later, do you know how over the moon I was having a boy? And I'm so glad that I had a boy first. Like, now, I think now that I've got a boy and a girl, because if I had 2 girls or 2 boys, it wouldn't have really mattered, would it? So yeah, I remember that. And then I then went for another scan, and they told me everything he was taking and needing, he was taking from my body, and I'd be taking it back off of him because my body needed it, because I would always be sleeping. I'd have an appointment in like 15 minutes after I got home from school, and I would go sleep until I heard that knock at the door. Like, literally every single day I would be sleeping whenever I didn't have anything to do. So baby dad's mum found out, and she called my mum straight away. And yeah, we all spoke, and my baby dad's mum was really good through my pregnancy as well. She was really excited, and she probably was as well disappointed, because it's like of how young we was. And she was really, really good. I actually announced my pregnancy with Dionte on Valentine's Day, and I was a bit nervous as to what people would say because of how young I was. I was still 14. But I remember putting it up like my only ever love or something like that, and the amount of messages I got was crazy. Like, my phone was blowing up. Everybody was claiming there was going to be there for me and the baby. Everyone was trying to be friends with me. It was crazy. So from there, when I announced it, I'd always be uploading stuff, always uploading like when I'd go for scans and everything like that, because I can hold a secret for so long if it's to do with myself. But then after that, it was just like, yeah, no, I want to tell the world now. So yeah, I uploaded it. My phone was blowing up. From there, like, people would just show me fake love. I continued school till I was 30 weeks pregnant. I completed my instruction course and got qualifications. I did like I still got my GCSEs and everything like that. I did all my tests and got all my test results, everything like that. So it was really good. I actually made Dionte's cot whilst I was at school, which is crazy. The yellow cot that you guys would have seen that I had with Amora, I actually made that myself in construction. Like, that is how crazy it is. And when my kids do have kids, if they choose to, I will hand that down to them, because that is now a family heirloom. But I'm not even gonna lie to you lot, how it probably looked like my baby dad was the best through my pregnancy. He actually did cheat on me when I was pregnant with Dionte. And I remember finding out one of the times because something made me go on his contacts, and he saved like a contact name under my big bro and then had the name. And I thought, nobody does that because he's not your big brother. So I thought that was really strange. So I've called the number. He's telling me, like, don't call the number, don't call the number. I called the number. And do you know what, to be fair, the girls did actually tell me, like, the girls told me, because I was like, I'm his pregnant girlfriend, like, I deserve to know. And then he did it again. So when he did it again, I actually found out because my friend, who is still my friend now, she rang me like, have you seen the story? And I'm like, no. And I was with him. We was actually walking to my house. So I was like, no, but I don't know if I had it on Snapchat. So anyway, the girl was telling me, my friend, and I remember he had like his PS4 with him, and I dashed his controller in the bushes and it was raining because I thought, like, are you actually joking? And a lot of the nights I would actually cry myself to sleep, I'm not even gonna lie, because some nights he wouldn't want to answer his phone on purpose, like he just blatantly ignore me. I'm not gonna come here and pretend like through my pregnancy he was the best how Amora's dad was, because Amora's dad was an angel through my pregnancy, but yeah, he wasn't the best through my pregnancy. I did everything I had to do. I went for all my injections, everything was up to date. And I remember I had a growth scan, and my baby dad actually missed it. I don't know what he was doing, couldn't care less now, but at the time he knew about it. He didn't show up, which I thought was really weird. And I was just like, he said that obviously he'd be there for me and this baby, like, where is he? Like, I'm gonna be raising this child alone. My mom and me, we actually got so much closer whilst me being pregnant. Our relationship just got so good, and we'd always go for food all the time. We'd always be doing things, because I think it was then, like, now that I am a mother, I now realised how much I needed my mom. There was so much stuff that obviously I didn't know and that I'm going to need her help with. And literally my parents were really supportive. So considering they obviously were upset, disappointed when they first found out, my parents were really supportive, which was amazing, because I do know, like, not everybody's parents are like that. And then you see when people comment on my stuff like, oh, where were your parents? Your parents didn't raise you right. No, like, my parents raised me like fine. It was me who laid down and made that baby. So I, as a responsible person, even though I was a child, I am going to raise that baby. My baby dad's mom, we used to talk all the time, like every day on the phone, every day on messages. She'd always check how I am, how the baby is. She literally spoiled him so much before he was born. And then I went there before he was born, and she's shown me everything she'd got from him, and it was crazy. Like, Dionte was so spoiled before he'd even made an appearance to this world. I had to go to the maternity unit quite a few times whilst I was pregnant because I felt like he'd stopped moving. That happened a few times. One of them I stayed in, I think, for 2 or 3 nights, and it was quite worrying because I actually went there when I was with my baby dad. Me and my baby dad was actually out, was on a walk, and I was like, this is the time he'd normally be moving around. He's not really been moving today. So we went to the hospital, I think on the bus. We either walked there, we went on the bus, can't remember. And then they said, look, like, you're going to have to stay in hospital. So I stayed in, everything was fine. It turns out he was just like his mom and loved to sleep. And yeah, so they discharged me, but I had to be discharged because I actually had an appointment. So originally they said, go to this appointment because this appointment was really important. But obviously if the baby was, like, we were still concerned about the baby, obviously I'd have had to reschedule this appointment. But because they knew the baby was okay, they was now just monitoring me a little bit extra, especially with how young I was. They said, go to this appointment and then come back. So I've gone back to the hospital, and then later on they discharged me. I finished school in the May half term, and my school that I went to, I changed schools. I think it was January. So I went to a completely different school to my baby dad at this point, and my school were really supportive. They were actually amazing, to be fair with me. I used to get away with a lot because obviously I was pregnant, so I got a leeway, and I threw up in school once. There was literally one time I threw up just in the middle of the floor. The school wasn't exactly close to my house. It wasn't a bus away, like they'd get me a taxi. And yeah, I stopped going at one point because it was just too much for me. So they'd give me work to do at home, which was really good. I actually asked for this work. So I do work at home, and then we cut my hours down to, instead of doing 5 days a week, so I could still get 100% attendance, to do 3 whole days a week, because that was all I could do. Did hairdressing whilst I was at school as well, which was really good. Went on my maternity and everything was fine with little man. I had my anti-D injection. If you don't know what that is, yours and the baby's blood group isn't like the same. So they give you this really big injection. You can have it in like your thigh, your bum. They try to give it you where like the most fat is. So I actually had it, I think I had it in my thigh, or might have been my bum. I had it in one of them for each of my kids. I had it in one time my thigh, one time in my bum. And that was the least painful injection and that was the biggest. Like, imagine, all my other injections really hurt. My health visitor, she would always tell me about these groups to go to, like when the baby was here. And my auntie was really good with me as well, so I do a lot of my auntie. Dante's due date was actually on the 29th of July, but he came on the 27th at 2:26 p.m. Fast forward now to the day I went into labour. Basically, I woke up one morning and I was fine, but I just felt off. Like, I didn't feel myself, but I didn't feel like I was in pain or anything. And I craved slushes through my pregnancy with Dante. Like, we had the hottest summer ever. And fun fact, Dante was actually born on the hottest day of 2018, which was mad. And I also craved the smell of washing powder. I'd actually take tubs of washing powder to my midwife appointment if it wasn't at my house, if it was at my local like community sure start. I would actually take tubs, or they'd have it there and I would sit and I'd smell it. I literally craved the smell of washing powder. So the day before I gave birth, actually, I had my midwife and my health visitor appointment in one, because they got on really well. Like, they worked as a team quite frequently, so we just did that, so it was easier for me. And then I went for a carvery with my mom and didn't have no symptoms. Woke up in the morning, didn't have no symptoms, but like I said, I just felt a bit off. My mom actually took her car to be MOT'd. And my little brother used to go to this place, like we all have them. They're like adventure playgrounds in the summer. You can go to them, your parents can drop you off, they'll pick you back up at like 3 o'clock. So my little brother was actually meant to go to one of them after my mum had come back from taking her car. And whenever I'm ill, I go in my mum's bed. Like, I've always been like that. I've gone downstairs to go and get some milk, and then I went into my mum's room and I was just in agony. Like, I was in so much pain. And my little brother actually come in and he's like, oh, do you want me to ring your baby dad? Like, shall I ring him? And I'm like, no, like, ring my mom. And I'm trying to get through to my baby dad. He's not answering. So now I'm worried, because I'm thinking, like, is he doing this where he's ignoring me again? Like, he's gonna miss the birth of his son because he don't want to answer his phone. He finally answered, and I'm saying to him, like, look, I don't feel great, basically. So he was coming to my house, and sometimes he'd get a cab, sometimes he'd bike, or sometimes he'd get the bus. And he actually lived 2 buses away. But when I say 2 buses, it's not a long journey. Like, the first bus he never actually needed to get. He didn't want to walk. And then he'd get that bus to my house, which is like 5-10 minutes away. He was in town when my little brother rang my mum to say, like, I'm in labour, like, I've got loads of pains. My mum's rushed back. My mum come home, and my mum then went to Tesco whilst I'm having these pains, and went and brought loads of snacks, for like my suitcase. She's gone there, come back, and I'm thinking, like, I'm in pain here. Like, whether this is labour or not, I am in pain and I can't do pain. I went on the toilet, my waters broke, and my dog actually was sitting in the toilet, like in the bathroom with me, like guarding me, which I thought was like really weird. My waters broke on the toilet. I then tried going in the shower actually, and I just couldn't. I couldn't. Mum then come back and I just put a nightie on, and I said to my mum, like, my waters have broke. My mum rang the hospital and they basically said to take me straight down because of my age and stuff as well. They can't risk me being at home whilst I am obviously potentially could be in labour. So my mum's got all our stuff together. We've gone to the hospital. My actual labour at this point, I wasn't really in labour. My waters had broke, but this was like the start of it. Now, I'm thinking I'm in full-blown labour because I cannot deal with pain. Even now, I've been having back pain. I can't deal with it. Anyway, my actual labour started when I got to the hospital. Imagine that. So my actual labour was less than half an hour. Like, from start to him coming out, it was less than half an hour. Me pushing was just like that. Anyway, got to the hospital and my mum's like ringing off my baby dad's phone. My mum's saying like, why is he not answering? Da, da, da. He's come to the hospital and my mum had to go park our car, so I was crying. I'm on the front. My dad, his friend was actually in labour as well there. So I'm saying, have you got a fan? Like, is there fans in the room? She's like, I've got one. And I'm like, oh, okay. Can I use it? Because she was being induced. So I'm like, can I use it? Like, I can't go. She thought I asked for a fag. I was 14, like a cigarette. Anyway, I've gone up on the wheelchair and I went into the room. Now, the room I wasn't supposed to give birth in there. I was actually going in there and then I was going to move to the other room if I was actually in labour. See me as well, I'm dramatic. I take things further than what they need to be. So I'm like bawling, but I didn't actually need to do that. Upstairs, I'm saying to the lady, like, please make this pain go away and let me go home. Like, literally, I'm not even supposed to be in here until Sunday. He came on a Friday. I was meant to be in on the Sunday to be induced because they wasn't letting me go for my due date due to him growing, how he was growing, and also my age. They just wanted to induce me on my due date. And they said if he weren't there by the Monday night, they'd have given me a C-section. I'm like, please just make this pain go away, send me home. Like, we don't need to be here. I don't want to be here. You don't want to be here. I'm going home. They've come upstairs. This other midwife, I think she was a student midwife. She's like, can your partner come in? Now, I'm thinking she's on about my mom. So I'm like, yeah. And then it was actually my baby dad. I held his hand so tight and I bit his hand. I'm sure he still has the mark on him. I bit his hand. Like, look at my front teeth. My front teeth are big as well, so you can imagine. So I've bit him. I can't do this. I can't do it. My mum made it just in time. And my mum was like, oh, like, let me see the head. So when my mum got there, the head, you could just see the head. She's got the things in her hand, like my suitcases and that. She's just literally dropped them. She's like, let me see. I'm like, no, no, girl, you are not seeing me down there. No chance. Next thing you know, she looked anyway. And then he was here. And do you know what? When I got given him, I was shaking. I was shaking. I didn't tear. I didn't tear at all. No. Okay, so I didn't tear. I didn't need stitches, but I teared like the tiniest bit on like some part of my vagina, and they couldn't stitch it, but it healed on its own because they said it will really, really, really hurt to stitch it because it's not going to affect me at all. And I'm just like, okay, like, you lot have got the gist of I don't like pain, so I'm cool with that. I was shaking. I was like, oh my gosh, like, it's real. This is real life. It's happening. This is my child. Like, this is my baby. I was shaking like hell. And then my dad came to see us in the hospital. He wasn't even supposed to come up to the delivery ward, but his friend actually worked front desk, so he got to come up. And then yeah, so at 2:26 p.m. Dionte was born, and it was the best day of my life. Like nothing in this world can beat that day. Nothing at all. From there, yeah, life just went on. And I didn't turn 15 until the October, so I was still 14 when I gave birth. Dionte weighed £6.11, which was a healthy weight considering they said, oh, he's going to be small. He's predicted to be like a 5-pound baby. He was like an average weight. He was long and skinny. Siamora, she was small but really chunky. So yeah, Dante was actually born like really pale as well. To the point someone actually asked my baby dad, like, is that your child? Excuse me. That is my pregnant at 14 story time. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This wasn't as ghetto and all over the place like last time. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you all tomorrow for another video. Bye.